Wait. Before we start, just want to make sure we're clear here. While this podcast talks about sobriety, mental health, and addiction, it is not meant to replace professional medical advice. Welcome to Sisters in Sobriety.
I'm Kathleen.
And I'm Sonia.
And we're ex-sisters-in-law, brought together in marriage and bonded through our sobriety journey.
Join us as we talk sobriety, addiction, and everything in between. You're in for quite a ride. And our Substack is buzzing with amazing content, from creative mocktail recipes to insightful courses and reflective exercises. There is something for everyone. Don't miss out. It's a great way to add some extra joy and depth to your journey. Check it out. Welcome back to Sisters in Sobriety. And today we have an incredible guest, Samantha Lander. And Sam's journey is one of resilience, transformation, and a deep passion for holistic wellness. Once navigating the challenges of addiction, she's rebuilt her life into one of purpose and health. And now, as a functional diagnostic nutritionist and personal trainer, she specializes in helping people optimize their health through nutrition, gut health, and lifestyle changes. She doesn't just focus on diet. She takes a root cause approach, using advanced lab testing to uncover hidden issues like gut imbalance, hormone dysregulation, and food sensitivities. With her unique blend of science and lived experience, we'll dive deep into nutrition today and how to fuel our bodies for long-term health. So welcome, Sam.
Hi, thanks for having me.
So, Sam, I've listened to you before on other podcasts tell your story, and it's fascinating. So can you tell us a little bit about your journey to sobriety and your journey of sobriety?
Yeah, I always kind of say that I have two chapters. There's the chapter that not a lot of people can relate to, and then I had the very relatable chapter. But, I grew up in what looked like a perfectly happy family. There wasn't any intense traumatic, very obvious traumatic incidents that would happen, or like an alcoholic parent, or death of someone, or anything, or abuse. But I think sometimes that trauma that's so little is almost more traumatic in the future for what happens, because this kind of gets like pushed on the wayside for years, because we're like, well, I know I had everything I needed. It was provided for me. What do you mean? So my first drink was in seventh grade. My first run-in with the law was in eighth grade. I got arrested on a school field trip for smoking. I don't even know it was pot, but pot. And then that sort of started just a spiral of poor choices and bad behavior. And everyone kind of I felt like growing up in where I from, there's a lot of drinking and blacking out, and it was sort of normal. Um, you know, I had a very wild phase. I pushed it to the limit a little bit. I mean, I was running away. I was failing out of school. I was drinking all day in school, getting high all day in school. But it felt like that was always pretty normal. But I never felt like those, like pot and alcohol they weren't my aha drug. Like they didn't change me. I didn't feel like I fit in doing it.
Mm.
Then I sort of got my shit together, and I, you know, became a very elite rower. I did really well in school. I ended up at University of Michigan. So I feel like my journey is like I push things to where like everything's about to fall apart and crumble, and then
Yeah.
I make a big turnaround. Um, it's just a common theme. So I went to college for Division I rowing.
Oh.
That was my sport. Yeah, I mean, I was a state swimmer, always very involved, heavy involved in athletics and sports, and being physically fit is definitely like sort of a foundation. I kind of think of it as my religion. So junior year of college, I had gone through a horrible breakup, and that was the first time I would say like I got sober. The drinking was just it was just such like I would just black out. Like there was no control, and I was going through a horrific breakup. It's the first time I ever thought about suicide. And I actually don't really ever tell this, but the one time I thought about suicide was after this breakup, and I was driving myself to the hospital because I was so scared to be alone. And I remember I was on the way to the hospital, and the ex-boyfriend pulled up behind me, And then a friend of mine called me and said, "You need to come back here to the house." And like whatever it was like that. I say that was like a definitely a higher power moment that I was like, all that just happened, and then I was fine. Uh, and then I kind of turned it around that summer. But that was a significant shift in like my well-being, I think. Like I've never had heartbreak like that. And I think that kind
Mhm.
of pain. Um, and then so after that I went to go visit a friend in California. He's like, "Listen, you're having a hard time. Come over here, visit me. You're gonna love it. It's amazing out here." And I went to go visit a friend in LA, and this matters. He had just come out of the closet, so I was hanging out with a lot of gay men. I this isn't because they were anything weird because they were gay, but it was safe for me. So for the
Mhm.
first year where I felt very, very safe. Like it wasn't about sex. It wasn't about anything but being my friend. And I felt like I had like some true friends for the first time. And they accepted me for who I was. I didn't feel like an outcast. It wasn't hard to fit in. And they like to party. So I found my perfect cocktail. I tried GHB for the first time,
Yeah.
and that was where I had my big like, I'm in love with this drug. This is perfect. I'm not blacking out. I don't need to do cocaine to stay awake. I
Huh.
hated cocaine. Um, the cocktail of drugs I was doing before, I hated all of them, and I mean, it was awful, but it wasn't awful enough for me to stop. So that's definitely
Yeah.
the addict, the ism, like I just never not did it. And that like opened up doors. And then I was doing, a lot of ecstasy. And then I was going out there every 3 weeks and partying and going to gay
Mhm.
prides and hanging with these guys. And then I fly back to, Michigan and do all my school shit. And, I always had jobs. I always worked really, really hard. I always had a really strong work ethic. I always loved to make money. I didn't want anyone else's money. I didn't want anyone else to take care of me. I felt like, I don't like to feel controlled for sure. So I felt like
Mhm.
it's an outlet to do that. And then I started bringing drugs back to Michigan.
Uh,
So I would fly out there, I bring drugs back, I'd sell enough drugs to pay for my habit. But one of the times that I did go out to California, we've been partying all weekend. At that point, I was doing ecstasy, GHB, I mean, you name it. And I tried meth for the first time. And was that was it. Like I felt normal for the first time ever.
uh,
It like completely leveled me out in a way that I've never experienced. But I was also diagnosed with ADHD as a child.
yeah.
Never took yeah, totally self-medicating, never took the drugs, it was very apparent what the use was for. My grades were incredible. I was able to
Yeah.
study and write papers, and, um, I love the way it made me feel. And also that first weekend that I ever did meth, I overdosed and ended up in cyanide. So, I don't know if it was a combination between the G and the meth, but, it's kinda like some of my first times I did drugs, I ended up, like, in a
Mhm.
lot of trouble. And I think at that point, I was like, "I'm gonna stop everything." I came back to Michigan. I mean, it scared me. It definitely scared me. It scared my friends. I was lying to my parents about all of it because I thought my insurance would find out and there'd be a claim. And so I told my parents
Mhm.
I was roofied and all the things. So just so much lying and manipulation just throughout the whole like alcohol and addiction journey. Then after college, I had a job. I was actually launching a vodka in Michigan, and it was the first micro distilled vodka made in the US that was flavored. It was called Voda. And so I was throwing these massive promo parties and like I mean my room in college was just lined with kegs and I didn't even touch them. Like I didn't even think about drinking. I really don't think that I really drank from like sophomore year of college for a good until I mean maybe once or twice until
Mhm.
2006. Because I just was doing all the other drugs. So I ended up going out to California. My job fell through. I decided to buy two turntables and become a
Yeah.
DJ. I just had this vision.
Yeah.
And when I saw I don't know, it was like the entrepreneurial mind in me, but I saw that there weren't a lot of female DJs. Definitely,
Yeah.
there were no female DJs in the house scene, and I felt like there was an opportunity. I was like, I got this. Like, I don't know. I didn't think of it any other way.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm gonna do this. I got this. I want to play at these gay prides. I want to do all this. So I did it. I mean, I had a career out of it for sure. I was playing, I had gigs, I had residencies, but the selling drugs started to grow. As that grew, the anxiety of getting caught, the people around me became more and more toxic. Um, my idea of friendship became very skewed because I felt like I had a lot of friends, but you don't really have any friends. They're all there for the,
Mhm.
but it was enough to keep my extrovert self like feeling like I had friends.
Mhm.
Got in a very, very abusive relationship. And my life sort of was spiraling, I would say, but I still didn't even relate to being an addict that selling drugs was like morally wrong. I just felt
Mhm.
like I had a way to not get caught. And so I started selling a lot of drugs into like 7 people. I had this number in my head, like I'm gonna sell a lot of drugs to 7 people. So I started selling a lot of drugs to seven
Yeah.
people so I didn't get caught. It's like so fucked up. And so I did that, and eventually my dealer got busted, and they raided his house, and they did leave a bunch of GHB at his house. So like gallons of it. And my ex-boyfriend had brought it over and put it at my house, which I was not aware of. Not that it's his fault that I got busted, like it probably would have happened, honestly.
Yeah.
I don't blame anyone for what I was doing because it was well, definitely my own behavior. And I ended up with a full SWAT raid. So the LA County came, did a full SWAT raid. I ended up in jail with a $500,000 bail. They
Oh.
me out the next day on my own recognizance. Then I'll show up. And then when I came to my door the next day, the Missouri feds were at my house. So then I was looking at a federal case.
At this point, do you see yourself as a drug dealer, but do you see yourself as a drug addict?
No,
Ah.
I didn't. I'll never forget a friend of mine one time said he was like looking all over my floor for like drugs and meth as he was using.
Mhm.
And I was like, "What are you doing?" And he looked at me, he goes, "I'm a drug addict." I'm like, "What are you doing?" He's like, "I'm a drug addict." Like,
Mhm.
and I'm like, and he had been in at this point, like, I remember him saying, like, it all kind of like he'd been in and out of the program before, and like, but to me, I was like, "Ew." That was my first impression when he said that. And I was like, "Yeah, that's like shooting up heroin, living out of a car."
Yeah.
Was like my idea of a drug addict was like from the movies that I watched
Mhm.
growing up. And so it was just completely unrelatable. Like I don't know. I just did not think there was a problem. I thought what I did was pretty normal.
And it's really interesting. I watched the Avicii documentary last night,
God, I like
and to me, like watching it, there was a point where physically he looked really bad, right? And that usually tips people off. And even with my own addiction, I kept thinking, if I look okay, then no one's gonna bug me. If I'm not coming home with like marks and scratched up and like, emaciated. So physically, what was your health like at that time?
you know, I was not like really skinny. I had acne. I had like weird I wasn't working out, but like I slept, I ate.
Huh.
I don't know if you look at pictures of me, I'm heavier than I am now. Um, but I look puffy. I mean, I don't look well.
Yeah.
I don't think I look well, but I also look like the standard American diet kind of person.
Hmm.
So,
Yeah.
I had an apartment, I had money. I had a high bottom for sure. Uh, but yeah, so I was looking at, LA County time, federal time, and a friend of mine who had gone to treatment asked me to come visit him. And so I went to go visit him, and I pretty much wanted what he had. It looked
Hmm.
like summer camp. I mean, it was just like, "Oh my god, like, what is this place?" And I just called my parents and was like, "I'm gonna go to treatment." I called them and I'm like, "I'm going to Malibu." I found this place. and it's incredible. Like, it'll get me sober, and it's only $7,000, but we need to put
God.
$50,000 down. Like, none of it made
Oh my
sense, and
God.
there wasn't. And
No.
they come back and they go, "Sam, there's not a 12-step program there. You are not going there." And I'm like, "Well, I don't know what a 12-step program is, but I need to go somewhere with a pool, and I'm only gonna go for 28 days."
One
They
of my
told me,
biggest regrets is never going to rehab. I really feel like
"Oh,
I missed out on
no,
a
great."
vacation.
Dude, I love rehab. So I ended up going to this rehab in Orange County that had a pool. I never even touched the pool. Oh my God, if I could bottle up, I tell everyone this, if I could bottle up what I experienced in rehab and sell it, I'd be like a billionaire. I mean, it was like summer camp on steroids. I loved it. I loved everything about it. And I don't know, like, I don't remember being like, oh my God, these people get me. But it must have been that. Like, I felt like I just felt such freedom, just such freedom from like all of it. Like maybe the paranoia and the selling of the drugs. And I was like, I just felt like my moral compass came back. I was living by life's
Mm.
rules. Like I was learning how to eat again. I was learning how to work out again and take care of myself. And I'm a very physical person. Like I love that I was able, like they took us to go work out. Like I was, I was gaining my sense of self back.
Is
Um,
that part of it though, that when you come back to your real life, that it's so different than rehab, that the influences in the environment are so different, that is that the reason people relapse?
I don't know. I changed people, places, and things. I got out. I lived with my friend who was in rehab's parents. So my dad and I packed up my apartment. We shipped everything back to St. Louis. I had to do I couldn't leave because I was looking at that LA case. So I stayed with this beautiful woman and her husband. Took me in. I barely knew them, and I lived at their house. And I got sentenced 8 months, LA County. I ended up doing a month. It was so full, which felt like 5 years. I did that, and then I ended up moving home, but I was so happy to be sober. I didn't use for 13 years, and I don't even know that I had a higher power or a God or anything at that point. I was just so happy to be sober. I felt that much better and was just, like, on that magenta cloud. I remember going back to LA and visiting, years later and being like, "You guys are doing the same shit." Like,
Yeah.
nothing has changed. People dying, so many people were dying. That guy I've been in an abusive relationship with, I called him when I was in treatment, and he was like, "Yeah, well, Jenny, this girl that was his roommate, overdosed on all these drugs, and he put her in the shower. He didn't call for help, and she ended up
Yeah.
dying."
At that point, do you start incorporating nutrition and like wellness into your recovery?
Um, I grew up in a very healthy home, so I think that just being in treatment, like there was no sugar allowed in my treatment, and they took us to work out, and that's where it I would say that's where I started to get it back for sure. I started working out, but I definitely did a big like swap of the working out to like overtraining, overworking out. Like that became my new addiction for sure for a while. Um, was just doing so much fucking cardio. I just remember
Yeah.
doing so much cardio. But then I moved home. I did my time. I got my probation transfer and moved home, and then I was looking at 22 to life for my federal case. We ended up getting all the counts dropped, a lot of them, and I got 27 months was my sentence. So I did my federal time, still totally sober. I was working a really good program before I went. Like I didn't even think about drinking or relapse or I mean any of it. Like I was getting drug tested, but you always have a choice in my personal opinion. But I could have drank. I didn't I had no desire. And I did my federal time. I got out. I made the best of my time in there. I think I totally needed it. I took advantage of it. I utilized everything I could to learn. I took time to read. I did their drug treatment program, which I absolutely loved. I love self care. I love working on myself. Did a lot. I was the first federal inmate to go get to leave and go tell my story
Wow.
to high school kids. Yeah, they like shackle you up and like I'm like, you
Yeah.
guys, they're like, well, we gotta make it dramatic. I'm like, seriously? I was like all shackled and like have to go. That was like where I first was like, this is the service work that makes me tick. Like
Mhm.
I want to tell my story. I'm gonna do I got out, became a personal trainer. I started my own company. and started personal training. And that's where all the health stuff sort of comes into play, I would say.
Right.
Still sober at this point. I ate super, super clean. I did all the cardio. At this point, I was also lifting weights. I was still overtraining, but I felt like shit. I had chronic diarrhea. I was gaining weight. Eventually, my PMS was like 3 weeks out of the month. And this is where it was like this is what I now love is I have a passion to work with women in this area. But I was doing all the right things. You couldn't pay me to eat a cookie, like, or do anything wrong, and I felt worse and worse and worse. And that's kind of when I got into like all the functional lab testing. But running those labs and looking at my hormones and my adrenals and food sensitivity and gut health after, years of drinking and doing drugs, and then also having poor gut health as a child. I was a really sick kid. I remember being a constipated child all the time. So I did that. I was a personal trainer, got married, went through a very hard marriage. The wheels started turning towards my relapse when I was going through my fertility treatment. It's that obsessive compulsive behavior and that inability to control anything and the unknown and getting fixated on something. I've been very good about keeping, not over exercising, taking rest, doing all that. I've learned more about my body and my hormones and things.
So are you at that point medicated for anything like ADHD?
No, as a trainer, you don't really need to be medicated for ADHD. It worked out great.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You can be a whack job and be all over the place. Once I switched to doing my functional med stuff full time, that's when I noticed like it was a real struggle for me to be able to focus and get things done. Um, and that's when I kind of started to address that. But while I was trying to get pregnant, my ex-husband, he had 23 years sober and he started using again. He gets sober at 16.
Oh,
Honestly, like I can tell you right now, like he's had alcohol on his counter for a year or more.
yeah.
When he drank, he never drank like an alcoholic. I don't know. We've talked about it now, and he's like, yeah, I definitely think I have the ism for sure, but he is not like me.
Mm.
Uh, but when he started, I think I was glad. Like I wanted to get fucked up. I think
Mhm.
it was my disease talking, like 100%. Like every time he drank, I was like, I can't wait until I have a baby and I end up getting pregnant. And I was sort of like, I can't wait to have a baby and then I can get fucked up again. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? I can't wait. And this is going to fix our marriage. This is going to make it so I can deal with him and handle him. Because our
Yeah.
marriage is awful. I shouldn't have had a kid. It wasn't awful, but it was hard for sure. And then some infidelity right after my son was born. And then I also, when my kid was born, I love to work. I thrive off my work. I'm not very maternal. I mean, it was like the rug got pulled out from underneath me. I was like
Mm.
like a girl, like standing there in the middle of the street, being like, I don't know what to do with my life. Breastfeeding was really hard, and I was in a breastfeeding class, and a the woman who was like leading the class looked at me and she said, "Well, you know what? You should just have a glass of wine."
Wow. So you're like getting into mommy wine culture at this point.
And that's when it hit. Oh yeah,
Yeah.
100%. I mean, I listened to it for years training all my clients. I mean, it just seemed so glamorous. It was so great. And like
Yeah.
they all drink, and like even we would all meet out or like whatever, always a happy hour, always a drinking, and like they could handle it, I guess. I don't know,
Mhm.
you know. And it was okay for a while. I mean, I ran it by I said to my parents, I go, they said I should have a glass of wine to help breastfeed. And they were like, well, do it. And we knew like alcohol and I knew alcohol and drugs are the same thing. Like if I'm not like a half sober person, but it'd been so long, 13 years, and alcohol was never my thing. It was drugs. It was like hardcore drugs. And like, I mean, I was going to AA meetings until I started to try to get pregnant. So I stopped doing that. But I also went to AA and I felt like I could never relate to anybody because I'm like, these guys didn't have
Mhm.
grades. These people, do they know what GHB is? Like,
Yeah.
very judgy, very like, I would never drink and drive with my child.
So when you're looking at AA, are you resonating with like the 12 steps, but not the people? Or are you just like not resonating with any of it?
I just went to meetings. I was not working a 12 step. I wasn't going through steps. I didn't have a sponsor.
Yeah.
I know some people don't do the program. I think the odds are against you. It's not, I don't know, especially with society today, just how acceptable drinking is.
So how did your drinking progress then from that first glass of wine to when you
Um,
eventually realized you had a
I was,
problem and got sober?
yeah, I was okay for a while. Blackout drinker. I mean, right, again, I think at that point I was popping out at all, but here I am also like this functional trainer, like this functional med person. You like practice what you preach. And I wasn't. My clients knew that I was drinking, and I'm very open about my story, so they all knew that I had my drug problem, but nobody really ever said anything. And my marriage was pretty much at its end, and we said we either get sober or I'm getting a divorce. And he looked at me and said, "I'll get sober,
Mm.
but I don't know that I'm done." And I got sober for a while, and then COVID hit. And I made it for a while during COVID, and I remember I had my kid, almost full time, and there was, I remember it was just raining a ton, and we were on, it was, going on day, 14 of having him and just, losing my
Yeah.
shit, and it was like, "Fuck it," and I started drinking again, and then that just escalated. It was fun. I mean, I was like a college girl for a minute there, just to like
Yeah.
a double life. Like the stuff when I didn't have my kid, I was insane. It was just I was like out to kill. Like
Yeah.
wild. I mean, just doing reckless, just insane stuff. And then it got very isolating very quickly. Like it just where every time if I knew that if I got in my car, I'd probably crash my car. And so I drank at home a lot every day at 3 or 4 o'clock. I couldn't not drink.
Yeah.
It was a bottle of gin a day every day by the afternoon. I just couldn't stop. And every day it was like, I'm gonna stop. I'm gonna, like every day I'm gonna
Yeah.
stop. I'm gonna quit. I'm gonna, I can do this. Like, just give me one day. All I need is a week. If I can get seven
Yep.
days, you can do it. If I can get 7 days. And I started telling my parents, like, I think I need to go to outpatient treatment. I need help. Like, I'm not getting it. I'm not getting it. And I ended up getting into a relationship with a guy that was sober. And I knew he wouldn't fix it. I think I had like 27 days maybe at that point, and
Mhm.
he knew. And I was okay for a while, and I had one relapse with him. He kinda let that one go, and he just was so, loving. Now looking back, I don't think we would have been together, but what had happened is I prayed to my higher power that I would find a guy that was, basically him. 6'4", covered in tattoo, had a kid, he understood it, he was sober, and I got it, the next day. And so this was the guy that I was dating, and basically things started falling apart. I was not able to stay sober. He definitely does not know about all my relapses. I did tell him about one more, and that was December. He pretty much did walk out of my life. And then
Yeah.
I've never lost a human due to my addiction. I think that was my
Yeah.
low. Like people don't even want to be around me because I
Yeah.
can't get sober. And that's all I can think of is it just it's like a light bulb went off and I haven't even thought about it. Like that since that day, I haven't thought about it. I haven't even the 3 o'clock crazy time, went away, all of
Wow.
it.
So at that point, you're at like a low,
Yeah.
but you're sober. So we go back to physically, like physically, how are you doing? Because you have like alcohol, I think in a different like affects you, right? And your gut health and everything differently than the drugs. So how are you doing at that point physically? And do you get back into the like functional lab testing and like, let me go back to this. It worked one time. Let me figure it
Oh,
out.
I still did all of that. I was the healthiest
Uh,
you'll ever meet. So I knew when I stopped, I would get potato vodka or I would get vodka derived from grapes or gin because it was the cleanest you could get. I wouldn't touch anything else. But then when I started to touch everything, when I started to grab those airplane bottles, because if I just get 6 airplane bottles, I'll be okay.
yeah.
Right? It got to where okay, just six or but then when I started buying the shitty vodka or drinking anything, then I knew this is bad. Like when I would just do anything. But I still did all my supplements, all that. I couldn't get a handle on my hormones. I started having a lot of hot flashes and night sweats, a lot of bloating, but my gut was fine. I don't remember anything really bad with that. Panic attacks at night because my anxiety was so bad due to the alcohol. So everybody, right, when you drink, you wake up at between 1:30 and 3 every morning. I always explain this to people. It's like when, you know, they're like, well, I don't know. Every time I have a glass of wine, and it's one drink, is what I tell people.
Yeah.
Like one drink wreaks havoc on your body. It is not like you don't have to be an alcoholic or anything for it to really do a lot of damage on a lot of things that you're probably working hard to achieve, optimal health. But like it's not like all the symptoms that are coming are from one drink a week. And when you wake up at that time, it's your body saying, like, holy shit, what did you do? Because it's a stress response. Your cortisol spikes because your liver is trying to detoxify. So during that 1:30 to 3 o'clock time is when your detoxification systems start to go into play. And so your liver is always going to choose to remove alcohol first. It will never, it does not choose to do your hormones or whatever the toxins you take in on on a daily basis. Like your normal systems don't get to do their job. And so that's when you see a lot of hormone imbalance and estrogen dominance and you know
Hmm.
all of those things start to happen. So when you drink, it's always going to be like that's your liver's job is to get that alcohol out. And so it's stress response in the body when your liver starts to work and you wake up. It's that cortisol response.
Wow. And so your
That's
functional lab tests then are coming up like pretty normal, except for
super
your hormones.
super estrogen dominant.
Okay, and
But
that you
for
relate to the alcohol, right?
oh yeah, 100%. I mean, I think poor gut health. So I guess my gut was a mess, I would say. I just didn't physically feel it. I didn't have the physical symptoms, but they were showing up in my hormonal labs.
Okay.
So alcohol is a hormone disruptor. So when you're getting a lot of endocrine disruptors, a lot of times you'll see estrogen dominance. If you
Uh,
have a lot of like bacteria, bad bacteria, candida yeast, something like that, fungus in your gut due to having, a lot of sugars, sugar alcohols, anything like that, or a lack of good bacteria in your gut, you'll see estrogen dominance because estrogen likes to bind to that bacteria or it sticks around in like your fat cells. So then you will see a lot of estrogen dominance with women who drink. You see a lot of blood sugar instability. So a lot of women get sober, but they don't feel better. Like I work with a lot of women, they come in and like, man, I'm sober. I haven't lost weight. I feel like I crave sugar all the time. I'm
mm,
moody. I'm bloated. I'm getting hot flashes or night sweats. Like, what the heck? Like, I made these choices. Now I'm sober. Like, what's the point? But it takes a long time to re-regulate your blood sugar. I mean, think of how you ate and how you drank. I mean, you're on your road to insulin resistance when you drink like that, and a
mm.
lot of blood sugar instability. So just re-regulating that, learning how to have the proper like carb, fat, protein with each meal is super important. And when your blood sugar is all over the place, you're going to crave sugar. A lot of women won't eat all day because they're trying to be super clean and healthy and then they binge at night. But like starving yourself all day is not going to help your blood sugar and it's going to cause a lot of sugar cravings. If you have a bacteria overgrowth due to your drinking, in your gut, they thrive off sugar. All that stuff, I mean, that's what they eat. That's what they want. They're gonna tell you, they're gonna send signals to your brain, "Give me sugar, give me carbs."
Yeah. So I did have a few questions about blood sugar. So that is a typical response to getting sober. I think a lot of people complain about the sugar cravings. So what can you tell us about how to manage those? What would you say to someone who's struggling with that?
I think that eating breakfast is super important, within 30 minutes of waking up. I know there's a million fad diets out there with intermittent fasting, but I do not think that anyone coming off, drinking or coming off a history of a lot of fad diets is in a
Mhm.
place where you need to be trying any kind of diet, but eating as normal as possible. So wake up, have breakfast. When you have breakfast, make sure it's not all carbs. So a lot of people will like grab an apple or just have oatmeal, but you need to have protein and fat with it.
Mhm.
So protein and fat are your friends. The more fat you have in a meal, the better. When it comes to your blood sugar, it's going to really balance out that insulin response that you're going to get from eating those carbohydrates. So I always tell people eat your protein first and then have your carbs. So let's say like a turkey burger and then a sweet potato. You know, um,
Ah.
grab a piece of cheese and an apple. You can have eggs and oatmeal, but eat that protein first. It's a good buffer. for the
Yeah.
carbs that are coming in. But every meal should have a carb, a fat, and a protein. And if you're gonna have a meal without a carb, that's fine. Like you can have a protein. It's not anything weird, but always pair a carbohydrate with a protein and a fat.
What are other mistakes people make when they're trying to, like, eat clean?
I mean, I think a big one is the fad diets. I think calorie counting
Mhm.
is ridiculous. I think that if you're eating whole foods, you are not eating that many calories a day. Like if you're eating, broccoli with every meal, a chicken breast with every meal, a sweet potato with every meal, like in your the whole day, if you look at that as a whole, it's not that much food. It's not that many calories. I think that causes more stress for people having to my clients are busy. I don't know. My clients are busy, they're moms,
Yeah.
they work hard, or I have like these super entrepreneur men that don't want to count macros and don't want to get into all that. And so I don't have them do that. I don't you know what I mean? If we work on a meal plan that's tailored to them and their food sensitivity test, I think
Mhm.
that they'll be fine. And if they're not reaching their goals and feeling better and losing weight, that you have to look at your gut and your hormones. You always got to look at the gut. At the end of the day, you always got to look at the gut.
Mm.
You've been drinking. I mean, ethanol okay, so hand sanitizer. I always tell people this hand sanitizer, right? What do you put it on your hands for? To kill
Clean.
bacteria, right?
Yeah.
And well, it's made from the same thing alcohol is made from. So if you're drinking that, what are you doing? You're killing all the bacteria in your gut.
No.
It's the same thing. I mean, people just you're like drinking hand sanitizer.
I didn't think about that. I'm watching a gut health documentary right now and how, yeah, you end up starving or killing the good bacteria. And so other than alcohol, which we get, what's another big disruptor of gut health?
Oh, gut health. I mean, processed foods, sugar,
Okay.
anything like if you can't pronounce it, don't eat it. Any of
Okay.
those like chemicals, I always say try to be as toxic free as you can. If you can't pronounce it on the label, I would say don't eat it. But I think that as far as, like, hormones for, like, women, I see from age 25 up, addressing your hormones is always really important before you go and try to, like, kill things in your gut and do all that.
Mhm.
But I think the hormone disruptors, things like touching receipts. So if you touch a lot of receipts, that's a big one that carbon bleaching your hair, Botox, you gotta pick your vices, I always say,
Yeah.
learn how to detoxify really well. If you like Botox and that's your thing, then learn how to detox really well, and I'll teach you how to get your liver, your kidneys, and your gallbladder, and all your drainage pathways working really well to where you can do that. I'm realistic. People like to do their things. I just wanna help you learn how to manage it all. Anything with soy, major hormone disruptors, GMO, genetically modified foods, corn.
Mhm.
But yeah, plastic is an awful one. Eat out, just switch to all glass. Oh my God, candles and Febreze. Get rid of. If I could tell, I mean, get rid of them. They're all made from soy, and you're sitting there inhaling soy. Soy is a xenoestrogen, which your body will recognize. Um, as it'll feel like you're basically taking in estrogen. It's so close to the makeup of estrogen that your body can become very estrogen dominant. It's a super endocrine disruptor. All those candles and fragrances and stuff.
Had no idea. So other, I guess hormones
Or
is
you
a
can get
big.
beeswax. You can get beeswax
Okay,
candles,
okay, I'll
or
have to
like
search
a
that.
diffuser.
Okay, and like
Essential
essential
oils are
oils,
great.
yeah.
Yeah,
How do you approach nutrition for men and women different, especially if they're in recovery?
during the recovery. Well, I always say, like everybody's different. I think your lifestyle factors play a major role, but I always start that's the foundation of the house, right? So when I work with someone, we always start with nutrition and then we get into hormones and drainage pathways and all that, and then we do the gut. That's sort of my goal. And then we heal. But the nutrition, I do run a food sensitivity test. I get rid of inflammatory foods is pretty much how I start that process. It doesn't matter and then I try to get their metabolic health back in order. Like everybody's going to
Mhm.
eat breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Depending on if you poop or don't poop, then we get into like, do you have snacks? Do you not have snacks? If someone's not pooping, I'm not going to give you 5 meals a day. There's no way. We have to
Hmm.
get pooping, because you're just going to pack that in and become it's going to be a toxic overload. You have to start eliminating the toxins. I mean, poop is toxic waste that your body needs to get rid of. And when it sits there inside you, you become toxic and very sick. So whether it's like we get you doing colonics or coffee enemas or whatever we got to do to start eliminating that waste product and then getting you where you need to go. Some people with the food sensitivity test, we do it and they're pooping it. I get a lot of people who don't have regular bowel movements, especially if they were doing a lot of pharmaceuticals, like
Mm.
all the painkillers and stuff, because they've been constipated for years.
So, are there any key supplements that you think are universally beneficial, and especially to people in recovery, that we should kind of like have all the time? Are there some key supplements?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's definitely so the ones I would recommend, like that are just safe without running a lab to know exactly what you need. Because I like to
Yeah.
do really tailored supplement programs. It's like, I mean, obviously, like essential minerals or a multivitamin is really important. Your B vitamins, so you become very, very deficient in all of your B vitamins when you drink.
Mm.
Mm. So you'll see like really low B6, B12, all of those markers will come up really low for someone who drinks. You don't really absorb any of your nutrients when you have like a very leaky gut and you're drinking a lot. Um, so you do become very deficient in like all the basic, fundamental nutrients. So I always say like definitely start to get on like essential minerals and then a multivitamin. A fish oil may not hurt just for brain health. A really good probiotic is, I think, important. I like orthomolecular. I think they have one that's a support biotic, I believe. And I feel like that's a really good brand. Designs for Health is a really good brand of supplements. I think it's pretty easy for people to get. And don't go to Walgreens and buy like a probiotic there. It would not
Oh,
recommend it.
okay.
Um, but yeah, just get a really good probiotic that is going to help repopulate all the good bacteria in your gut and stick with that. You can sometimes rotate them, like switch them up each month and see how you feel. I would recommend some sort of B supplement, a liver support. Start with something very gentle. So, I mean, you could try doing like a milk thistle or a combination multi herb liver support or liver, kidneys, gallbladder kind of support to help get your body learning how to detoxify and support healing your liver. Castor oil, but like I mean, honestly, infrared sauna, castor oil pads,
Mm.
dry brushing are all things that aren't supplement based. Wearing a castor oil pack every night is amazing. Red
That's
light
so
therapy.
interesting.
You can do IV drips. I think the NAD is known to be really good for people with addiction and recovery. Start slow. It can make people kind of nauseous and feel a little wonky afterwards, but that's a really good one. Like those drips are great. Vitamin C aids in adrenal repair. So I wouldn't say just chug a bunch of orange juice because it's going to be carbs,
Yeah.
but they're called adrenal cocktails. So you can make like an adrenal cocktail, which is going to help with your adrenal glands, which is sort of your body's energy system. So adrenals kind of control your cortisol, and cortisol is your hormone that you use to respond to stress. And if you think about when we're probably in fight or flight a significant period of our day.
Yeah.
And your body doesn't know the difference between good stress and bad stress. So over a significant period of time, being under chronic stress with it, also you're probably a lot of people are functioning alcoholics where they're dealing with their kids and they're doing their jobs. And it's a lot of stress. And then trying to hide your alcoholism, I think that you eventually start to run out of cortisol. You like to just deplete your own body's like reserve of cortisol. And I see that a ton on my labs. I do cortisol testing.
Yeah.
And you'll see that there is a very, very low level of cortisol production in a lot of people. And so they need to start to work on their adrenal glands. So you'll see a lot of electrolyte imbalances. So taking some electrolytes is really important. You can even just put really good sea salt, like get some Redmond sea salt, put that in your water. Redmond's has a really clean electrolyte. I mean, obviously read your labels on all of these things.
So, what are your top 5 things to always have on hand in the kitchen?
Ooh, right now I have L-glutamine for gut healing, which I've been doing a lot of. Creatine. So if you're over definitely over 40. I would say over 30, I would do creatine. It's not going to bulk you up. I think it's really beneficial for women. But I do a food rotation and I teach people to do that because when you eat the same thing over and over, you create your own food intolerances to foods.
Really?
Um, I'll tell you about the food sensitivity thing in a minute because it's very interesting with addicts.
Yeah.
Okay. Mm. So I have a lot of variety. So I always have at least 4 different proteins, like either in the freezer or available to rotate if I need to, but a lot of different fats. So I cook in duck fat, beef fat, pork fat, avocado oil, and coconut oil. So I always have a wide variety of fats in my kitchen at all times and lots of snacks. I become a little bit more, I would say, of a snacker because I work from home and I'll just grab something. But I'll always have like some sort of really clean, like turkey meat or some sort of deli meat that's like clean, or hard boiled eggs are always around. I always have nuts around that are raw and not roasted. Roasted nuts become rancid. So make sure the nuts are raw and they taste a little better if you freeze them. I love pork rinds.
Okay.
About like ever since prison.
These
You
are
know,
things, like, I think that are a little unexpected. I think this is
Yeah, I
great.
mean, yeah, these are things I keep around. Oh, I have a lot of so smart sweets are my sugar thing. So I love smart sweets. They're really clean. I mean, it's gotten so much easier to get like sweet
Yeah.
stuff that's clean. It's crazy from when I started this. Hugh Kitchen and love their chocolate. I don't even like chocolate, but I'll
Huh.
eat it. Hugh Kitchen is like it's
I've
so
seen
clean.
you
It has coconut nectar or coconut sugar. So there is a little bit of carb, but it's pretty clean. I use a lot of goat milk. I don't do any cow milk. Um, it's usually I just at this point I kind of avoid it. It wasn't on my last food sensitivity test, but I do a lot of goat milk, and I have a lot of my clients to switch to everything goat. I just discovered coconut Cultics.
Oh, I just started
Oh,
talking about this, like, a week
oh,
ago.
dude, they have this one. Get the one that's like apple spice or something. It's got oh my god. It can't be. I'm like, this can't be healthy. Like I've
Oh,
been watching their Instagram for years and I
yes.
just ordered it.
They just went viral on TikTok, and
They
so
did.
everyone has been talking about coconut cult. So do you think coconut cult actually, this is a question I was asking my friend that I was talking to about it. Do you think it could be a dessert replacement?
Oh yeah, that shit is good. Oh my god.
Okay.
Got it. So they just started carrying it at Fresh Time near me, but they only have like 2 flavors. The strawberry one's just like strawberry yogurt, but they had
Yeah.
one that was like some sort of like apple pie.
Okay.
Oh,
Okay.
it's so expensive, but it's so expensive. I'm like, okay, like
So
let's just
expensive. That is so,
okay.
I said the same thing.
So
It's
good.
like $9 for like a jar of yogurt. Yeah.
It's good though. Yeah, I've been
Okay.
following them for a long time. I really wanted to do. I tried to get them into a giveaway when they first kind of appeared, and I don't think they were just ready for it on my Instagram.
Yeah.
But it's funny that it's good they went viral. But I mean, they have it like it's like puffing out of the jar. It just looks so good. I'm like,
They
is
have
this?
a passion fruit.
I thought when I opened the jar, it was gonna like puff out. I mean, I didn't even know what to expect because I watched their Instagram. It's good stuff. But I mean, that's the stuff I have on hand. I don't know. I do a
Yeah.
lot of Epic bites, like the beef jerky. I love the Epic brand.
Yeah.
Um, I don't know, but so food sensitivity testing. So this is
Yes.
interesting. So so I run food sensitivities on everybody, but a lot of addicts have trouble with binging, whether it's sugar or whatever it is, even
Yeah.
healthy food. But when you eat a food that you have a food intolerance to or a food sensitivity to, not an allergy, um, you're going to get the same response that you get when you do drugs, or you're going to get that feel good response. So your body is going to respond and have like an uptake of serotonin and dopamine, all that stuff. So when you eat these inflammatory foods, even if you're eating like a spinach salad, but if you have a food sensitivity to spinach and carrots and that's what you're eating, you're going to feel that. And then it causes you to binge. It causes you to like want more of that because it feels good, right? And you don't even realize it. It's like it feels good, so you keep doing it. The first time I ever ran a food sensitivity test, I remember I was with my boyfriend and we both ran it. And we looked at each other that night and we were like, what is happening? Like, we didn't want to eat more. Like, we would eat dinner and be like, what is this? Like, we would just eat and eat and eat, like, and keep eating, even though it was healthy. And like, I think at that point, I didn't know enough to be like totally off the Splenda diet. I remember eating a lot of Splenda, like that whole, like,
Yeah.
I don't know, it was carb free, but it was like a lot of ricotta cheese or something. And we were like, "What?" And he's an addict too, and we were like, it totally went away. Those weird cravings and that binge eating completely went away when we took my inflammatory foods out. And there's, like, a ton of studies that have been shown that, that's what happens when you have those, reactive foods.
It's so, like, counterintuitive, right? Like, when we think about it, that something we have a sensitivity to would release serotonin and, like, dopamine and give you that feeling. So that's so interesting. I will say what blew my mind was the rotating of the fats, because I do not rotate what I cook with, and so that is the big takeaway for me, is that I'm gonna add, like, an avocado oil and things, so I'm not just always cooking in olive oil.
Yeah, rotate your foods, do a 4-day food rotation, and I
I
guarantee
know.
half your food sensitivities, like, if I ran a food sensitivity test on you now, I bet you'd have at least 20 plus things. If I ran one on you after we removed those and we got you on a rotation and, like, did some meal
Really?
planning and stuff, your next test would have, like, 7. The issue is, if you don't do the work to heal the gut, you're gonna keep feeling very symptomatic when you eat even those 7. So
Mhm.
you really gotta pay, like, a lot of practitioners will skip that step. They'll remove any underlying infections in your gut and things like that, but they don't heal the gut. So my goal is to get you where you don't have a lot of food sensitivities, but we get rid of the infections, we heal your gut. But, like, if you want to go have Chinese food, you don't feel like shit, and you can go have it, and you're not, like, in a food coma and feeling like bent over like you're gonna die on the toilet after.
That's amazing. I know there's so many people out there too that we expect when we quit drinking that we're gonna feel just like amazing. It's gonna cure every ailment or every ache and pain we have. And so I think it's fascinating. So I know it's not just me, but I know there are people listening want to learn more about your programs and how to work with you. So how do we go about that?
So I do a free clarity call. I love hearing people's stories. I don't know. It seems crazy, like it's I love it. So I do a full health history on the call. So we talk about everything from, like, the day you were born, if you were on a lot of antibiotics, trauma in the home, everything. And then we get to kind of what's going on right now and what your goals are. And so I do a free call, and then I can tell you, like, what labs I would recommend. But you can find me and book that call at my website, which is www.cfitpt.com. So it's SEEFIT and then PT. And then I'm all over Instagram. If you just want to, like, kind of feel out what I'm like, I always tell people, like, I'm not everyone's cup of tea. So you can go on there and kind of see, and learn a lot, hopefully, about, health. Try to put some educational stuff out there. Um, but yeah, but I do a free clarity call, and I'd love to talk to people, and then we kind of go from there. What program would be the best?
I would definitely encourage people to check out your Instagram and book a call because your Instagram is amazing. So we will include the links to work with Sam in our show notes. Thank you for listening to this episode of Sisters in Sobriety. This was Sisters in Sobriety.
Thank you for listening and being with us today.
If you want to learn more about sobriety and meet your community, find us at sistersinsobriety.substack.com.
Are you a sister in sobriety? Then reach out on social media. We'd love to hear from you.
If you're feeling generous, leave us 5 stars and a review and follow us wherever you listen.
You'll never miss an episode. Until next time.